What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Duality Podcast, where our motto is living comfortably uncomfortable. My name is Ian Perez, joined by Jonathan Mercado, Victor Rivera, and Chris Zora. We're four ordinary dudes with extraordinary dreams. Jonathan, take it away, dude.
What's up, everyone? And thank you for tuning in to another episode where we go from the inside out, we turn our dreams into reality, and we stop all the wishing and we start taking action by all this. I was about to say a cuss word off the bat, man, but all the stuff that we do. Today's topic, guys, is no other than closed-minded versus open-minded or fixed-minded. And it's going to be some interesting things. Mr. Victor here got some great ideas on how the podcast should go. So I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and skip the 11s, right? What was it? The shots or misses 11s. I don't know what it is. I feel like we
the wins and losses.
Yeah, it feels like we haven't done a podcast in like 2 weeks because we skipped our normal time. So it feels like I haven't seen you guys in a while. But we're gonna skip the wins and losses, guys. I want to go straight into some good information so that way we can give to the world and ourselves so we can continue to learn. So Vic, take it away, brother.
Hey, man, I was listening to this to a podcast, and this topic of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset came up. It was this property investor. He was talking about how he used to have that fixed mindset. He's talking about how he had to overcome that and definitely developed a growth mindset. So he was really going in deep and talking about that and how that helped him kind of get to where he is now with him and his wife. They got this massive like portfolio of properties. So in thinking about that, I started to like reflect, like I always do, just reflect on my own like growth and path. And then like, man, I think I still have some opportunities like on myself, right? Because sometimes you might have, you're open-minded to some things, but still kind of closed to others, right? So I thought it'd be a great thing to talk about amongst us, because I think everyone that's listening also has like some opportunities, right, to like expand, to grow, right? And sometimes, which I think is most of the time, we limit ourselves. And that's what ultimately, I don't want to do to myself. It's like, hey, don't limit yourself, right? Be open to that growth mindset to be like, hey, you can do this X, Y, Z, right? There might be challenges, obstacles, might be, higher hurdles than you've jumped before, but doesn't mean you can't jump it, right?
I was going to talk to you about your opportunities.
I appreciate it, man. I need that.
Bro. No, when you brought up this topic, I was trying to go back into my own experiences of when was I closed-minded, and do I still have some of that? And to answer the question is, I still have a little bit of it, right? I feel like there's always an opportunity to grow. You always have some kind of biased perspective where you feel like, this might be the only way here. And that's just not what it takes to be fully open-minded and to continue to grow, because that's narrow thinking. But I was trying to like, man, is most people start off, are we just closed-minded?
I think so. I think from my experience and from experience or from interactions with other people, I think most people are open to whatever they're exposed to, right? So if you're exposed to a certain environment, certain things, certain foods, all this stuff, then you're just kind of that's where your taste and your that's where you develop to be inclined to. And also, again, the environment, things that you hear, things that you grow up listening to and experiencing, I think makes you like a person that's close or really just attached to one thing, right? And sometimes some people from a personality standpoint, I think are either afraid or not willing to try other things and open up. So I think yes, but then a little bit of like that dabble of personality.
So I actually kind of think the opposite, but for the same reasons. Oh. I think early on when you're really young, you are open-minded, and then you might try some things that you don't like. You might be exposed to things you don't like, and then that's when you start developing that closed mindset. Yeah, because like as a baby, especially, like you don't know what's going on, so you're open to everything. And then as you get older, you start developing those opinions or those feelings about certain things that close you off to them.
Yeah, I think I like that because I think influence, right? Influence kind of molds, where you go. I'm sorry, Ian, you're gonna say something?
I was just kind of letting y'all keep going. It was good info. I'm kind of like a happy medium, to be honest. Like I I definitely agree that at a certain point is what's around you that influences you to start thinking like that. Um, but then again, like as a child, like we have kids now, you notice that they're a lot more open-minded to certain things. But I'm like flip-floppy just because like my son is a completely different personality than my daughter when they're at the same age. And it's not that we might have parented a little bit different, but we've always allowed them to kind of explore. And like he's just a very big-hearted but cautious kid. And we've always told him like, just, go climb on that, go do that. And he's very cautious about what he's doing and really meticulous in how he gets there. Where Kendra would be like, Kendra, climb on that, do a backflip, and she'd go up and boom, done. So I think it definitely is a happy medium, and like their personality then mixed with their surroundings, how they're upbrought or their friends or something like that. But if we're talking about like further on, that's a completely different story.
Chris brings up a good point. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about you start off, now that you mentioned that, Chris, and you said that you start off very open-minded to everything, and then as you grow old, your environment, your culture, the people you hang out with, the influence around you, you start downloading their perspectives on what life could be. And that's why you hear that quote, your exposure will determine your level of success, because you aren't exposed to this other level of this great success. Because I wasn't. And now I'm thinking about it in my story, I was exposed to this level here. So that's all I knew, didn't know there was anything else. And that was my ceiling. I wasn't allowing myself to open up my mind of the capability of there could be something way bigger out there, because it wasn't exposed to me. So Chris, that was a good point. Now that you really mentioned, we do start off knowing that we take all the risk, and as parents push their perspectives on their kids, go to college, society, get a job, don't do this, be careful. What we say and what we do in our actions affect everyone around us. And it's not just us. I had this conversation with my middle child. My middle child probably goes through the most adversity out of all my kids.
Which middle child? You have two middle child.
Yeah, I know. I see the middle child as Braden. He's 10.
Braden.
He's 10. Because the other two are like, they're so close in age, they're like babies.
Yeah.
And then I have Jeremiah, and then I have Braden. And Braden is, he's quiet, he's more into his head, he's more creative, right? And all my other kids are a little more, they're hyperactive, they're willing to go out and do more things and take more chances. And so I told Braden, I was like, hey, bud, I was like, you are who you are, but we have to evolve and grow and try other things, right? I just can't have you do one thing and then accept that this is it, son. Like every single day we got to go out and we have to try these hard things, and every day we got to expand and grow. And it's very uncomfortable, son. But I promise you, because it's so uncomfortable for you now, you are going to be a monster later if you learn how to push yourself out of this comfort zone. And so just getting him and watching how I say and what I speak to him is he's downloading information, versus if I would say, Brayden, it's okay. You just stay here. You're fine. Everything's going to be A-okay. Don't go out. Be careful as much as you possibly can. By me saying that, he'll be downloading that information, and that's going to be pushing off more closed-minded for him of this narrow thinking. So I just think as parents, as influencers, as people, as family, as friends, we do have to be super careful in what we say, because it could be downloaded into their perspective, and that could be their level of exposure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, exactly that. You brought into that, because like growing up as well, like we even though my parents always told me, hey, like they didn't like right out said it, but like it was like, hey, you're gonna go to college, So I always had in my mind, I'm gonna go to college, because that's what I was being telling. right? That's what I've been hearing. So in my mind, there was no, oh yeah, that's expected. That's normal, right? You know, that's something that I want to do. And then when I was talking to like other friends, in their mind, they're like, I haven't even thought about that, because they hadn't heard it from anyone, you know. So it definitely what you say as you know, parents or people of influence of young people, what you say, what you pour into them, it definitely is gonna, kind of reside in and really not decide their fate, but really put them like in a lane, right? Or put them in a trajectory that they're gonna follow because they don't know anything better at that point, right? At a young age.
Yeah.
So I think putting them in the right direction with what you say and all that stuff is definitely pivotal.
I have a question. When in your life did you were cognitive of you being super aware of open-minded and closed-minded? Like when did that shift? Because it didn't shift for me until later on in my years. I was like, that's a thing. What is that?
Yeah, for me it was actually when I met Liz. Uh, to be honest with you, like I wasn't when I met Liz was like my first real like relationship, like girlfriend and stuff like that. And so when I was exposed to her, I met like her parents and like her brothers, like her like friends, like her life was different than mine. It was like almost polar opposite, similar but really opposite. So I had to really be accepted of things that I wasn't before. Like I grew up in a strict home. We do this way, do this way, right? And stuff like that. With her, when her family, she grew up a little bit more freedom, a little bit more like leeway to do things. So to me, when like she would do stuff, and I was like, damn, like why you do it like that? Or like, why your parents are weird? Like, why do you do that? Or your brother's weird,
Yeah.
So, but as I started to get to know her and learning from that exposure to something different, I started to be like, that's not bad. It's just different.
So you definitely
started
became
to-
aware of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Christian, what you got?
Yeah, I think as far as I can remember, I've always been kind of aware of it just because of the environment I grew up in. Like my parents were a little bit more overprotective and a little bit stricter, but then like some of my best friends, their parents were like total opposite. Like they're just a lot more just laid back and easygoing. And then I also like growing up, I had different babysitters because my parents always worked the evenings, and they all had different personalities too. So like I always kind of saw the different sides of everything and see how different families are run. I don't know if I necessarily was aware of it back then because I didn't think about it, but I don't think I've ever really like I don't think I really never thought about like or sorry lost my train of thought. I don't think it. I'm trying to think of how to word this.
You put it in a sentence. The
It's
word.
the newborn. He's got the newborn brain, dog. It's all melted right now.
Yeah, I think I just was always kind of aware, but I just never really put it into perspective.
Yeah.
I just never thought of a closed versus open. Like I just was always kind of had that open, but I did see the closed-mindedness in people.
Well, once you realize it, you're now exposed to a whole new world. You now see things a little bit differently because of it, because it's in your head. Am I being this way? Am I not being this way? You become very aware, like Victor became very aware when he met Liz. Ian, was there a moment of like, there's two different types of people in this world?
It was probably my early 20s, to be honest. Because a lot of my childhood is very, this strict Latino family. Which obviously, in the moment it sucked, but in hindsight, there's a lot of good that came from it. A lot of things that I learned and habits that I got from it. But it was always like, this is the way it needs to go because it said so. And I was kind of in that lane for a while, and even into my early adulthood, that's kind of where I kind of stood. And kind of breaking out of that, it was kind of liberating. I was like, man, I can change. And I know my parents didn't do it like maliciously. It's just like what they knew that was best for me. So obviously in that moment it was love. But yeah, being able to make choices for myself based off of what I thought and felt was very, very awesome. So yeah, probably my early 20s.
I was later than that. I was 26. I remember the day. I was
26.
26. Yeah. And because I was very close minded, and it had to do with a little bit what Ian says. I was brought into a culture where this is the only way. And it built this ego and arrogance inside of me where I couldn't let myself be wrong. This is what it is. And I'm going to go push. And I don't care if I'm right or wrong. This is what I believe in. I'm going to keep going no matter what. So what you say, even though you might have the right information, I was so closed off by it because my pride and my ego wouldn't let me take anything in. And so it wasn't until 26 where I had to like bite the bullet and be like, I hit a wall. And it's when I got into entrepreneurship where you have to be open-minded to ideas, to understanding that you probably suck, to understanding that somebody's way better than you, that has better information, that could build better things, and you need them on your team. And you start opening up to the mind where people and togetherness and humility and understanding and perspective builds great things. And as entrepreneurs, that's one of our biggest missions, is to build something super incredible to impact the world. And it was when Roy Davis, I was in my entrepreneurship grind, and I wouldn't listen. I wasn't a great teammate. I'm going to crush everyone because I had the dog mentality. Even though we're supposed to be working as a team, wasn't really a team player. Hit a wall, wasn't making any money. People didn't like me. So I didn't really care. But inadvertently, that mindset, that person in me was holding me back. And I got that great talk, which always are the greatest talks that in my life are the ones that always I get put in my place. The best ones. Even in that moment now, I understand them. I'm like, let's go. Where they tell you how it is. Like, Jonathan, you're going in the wrong path. You're not willing to take in new information. Are you reading anything? Are you doing things to open your mind? Are you doing these things to grow? And I was all like, what does all this mean? Grow, read books? Like, what is this jazz? What are you preaching to the choir? Self-development? Isn't that what, this taboo things in my world? That's kind of like taboo. Like, it's kind of like motivational speaking type things. And it's like not cool to do those things. And I think that's how most people think. When I hear people, when I talk about self-development books, they're like, oh, ew, like that's a little preachy. It's a little off-putting, right? I don't understand that mindset now, but I mean, that's my mindset. When I thought about it, I was like, ew. But at that moment though, because I was willing to listen and learn from the best, that's right there was where I became obsessed with self-development. Because once I started learning something new, I started noticing my life change. And then I was like, ooh, what if I read another book and my life would change? And what if I read another book and my life would change? And I just, self-development, super passionate. It's probably one of my top passions besides crushing everybody in basketball around me. But yeah, man.
Oh, there it goes again.
You need to read a book that says how to get out of my delusional mindset.
Nah, the title is what made me realize I'm not that good.
Bro, I don't know if anything's ever gonna help me realize it. There's my closed-minded self right there.
That's funny, man.
Yeah,
but the lateness, I think it helped. I think the lateness kind of helped me because it didn't just ease into my life. It was just like, bah, and I just like dumped it in my head and just went with it.
Yeah. I think, we all kind of hit not a wall, but a point like in the 20s, because we're now living life, right? First time in our lives, we're by ourselves. We got to make our own choices, accept the own consequences of our choices, decisions, things of that nature. And then you start to rethink things, right? And saying like, wait, if I'm doing it this way, I've been taught, how come it's not working out, right? And so for me, is that was it. It was like, man, I'm doing everything that my parents, I saw them do, and the good qualities, right? The work ethic, all that good stuff. And then I'm like, and I'm I can say now, like conforming to the norms of society of, okay, if I do, if I work this many type of years, I do this, that, I should be at this, right? But nothing was working out. So to me, is what was more of like, hey, in order for me to like go to that next step, either in my like, financially or, relationship wise, like with Liz, I had to be like open-minded to, other ways, and really, get exposed, and not only just be open-minded, but willing to like learn and listen. I think a lot of the time we're not, we hear things, or we kind of like, but we don't really listen to learn, like, or listen to absorb, right? We just kind of hear it, kind of brush it off, like, yeah, I'm cool with it, but like not really, right? Give your 100% self to, that point of view, or, that a process of thinking differently. And I think that holds a lot of people back. But when, I think I decided, like, again, to like, okay, I'm put myself in their shoes. Let me think like they do, and then kind of see that side of things, and then starting applying things, and really that's when you start to to grow in whatever barriers that you have set for yourself, right? That you think you couldn't pass through, then those barriers start to kind of dissolve and stuff like that.
And I'm
Do you
glad
think-
you mentioned. Oh, good.
I was just gonna ask, like, in certain perspectives in life, do you think the fixed versus growth mindset is related to like underconfidence or overconfidence, like certain things like going for a job or trying to try for a sport or something like that? Just because I know growing up that I was in certain, and even now sometimes like going after a job, like I have that doubt in my mind where I'm like, do I really need it, or I really want to go after it? And I think it's maybe just the underconfidence, and then sometimes fear of failure, like trying for it and getting a no, which I know now in this like growth that we're going through, that I know is like it's still a lesson to learn. But I just wanted to get the question out there to get your answers so everybody can kind of hear.
I think it's natural to be like nervous, about, trying new things or going for a new job. I mean, I think everyone has that, a little nervousness. Like personally, every time I went to an interview, I always like was confident that, obviously, like, because again, you know who you are, right? So I mean, I got, hey, I know I'm a good worker. I'm a team player. I'm open to all these things. As far as from a work perspective, be always nervous to see, about us, right? Are they gonna like me? Am I gonna be a good fit for their company? So you're kind of selling yourself. So but you're always a little nervous, as far as, I don't think it's more of a confidence thing. I think it's more of a I think it's just natural jitters. Like, people, we have those two voices in our heads. I think Jonathan was mentioning it earlier, right? Is that you have those two voices in your head. And so, there's always going to be that one that is going to be, telling you, hey, you might not get this, but then there's that other one that you got to feed more into, saying, hey, you can do this, right? You prepared for it. You've done this work, you have the experience, just go on and just bust it, right?
There's a quote that says, go ahead, brother.
I was going to say, I do think that confidence could be a factor into it, because a lot of those fixed mindsets are based off of confidence. Like, if you're not confident in yourself, you're not going to want to grow. Like, because if you feel like you're going to fail, or if you feel like you're going to, like, you're not going to get that job or whatever, like, that's going to kind of make you not even want to try.
That brings to my perspective, right? That's how I grew up.
Yeah, like, so
Really?
Like, I mean, confidence, I think, actually has quite a bit of a factor when it comes to fixed versus growth mindset. Yeah. You can get out of that, but yeah, that if you don't have the confidence for anything, like in any or a specific thing, like it does make it a lot more of a challenge to push yourself through to attempt that, or to go for that job, or try out for that team that Ian had mentioned earlier.
There's always two sides of the token. Always. There's never just a fixed answer, Ian. Because, closed-minded, there could be, like Chris alluded to, there's a positive to that, being closed-minded, but willing to be open-minded later. It built confidence. It built, like, I was the main thing. It built that ego. And that's pretty attractive in most cases, but it has on the other side, it's very negative as well. It's very abusive. It's very toxic. And then on the flip side, Ian, there's people out there who are not confident. There's a superpower in that as well. There's superpowers in everything that we do. We just can't see them. There's actually like a children's book where all the animals are different, but there's this one animal who who on this journey, he meets other animals and he's like, oh, the gorilla's strong, or the elephant's long neck. He can see everything. He can eat from the high places. Or this snail is like his perspective is so understanding and wise because he's so slow and he believes he didn't have a superpower. And because he's looking outwards, he can never see his superpower. And he had a great superpower. I forgot what it was, but I think it's to also Victor's point. We have two different voices in our head, Ian, and whichever one you feed the most is the one you're going to lean towards. And the more you feed the other one is like, so the confidence, the more you feed the confidence, the more you're going to become confident. But also, you're just not going to be confident just to try to be confident. It takes reps, it takes repetition, it takes skill, it takes honing, right? And so if you're leaning on, I'm not a great confident person, if I'm naturally just always have a little bit of a doubt, you can help fix that by becoming great at what you're doubting. And I think that's what makes great people great, is because we all fear fear. We all fear it. Like whoever says I'm fearless is a goddamn liar. We all feel it, but the great people leverage their feelings, leverage it. Every single successful person at a high level understand fear and use it and leverage it to work harder to separate themselves from the rest. David Goggins had fear. David Goggins knew that fear and challenge was the superpower to overcome and surpass everyone else. You just have to learn how to leverage these feelings in the moment. I told you guys, leverage is like this new word that's just being open-minded and understanding and doing these biographies, audio biographies, and understand that all these great people just leverage their feelings towards what they wanted, whether it be they're high on motivation, inspiration, they leverage it to go separate themselves. They're feeling amazing, let's go separate. Or they're feeling less confident, they're feeling weak, they're feeling defeated. In that moment, let's leverage this and let's get mad and let's get hungry and let's go separate ourselves. So
yeah, David Goggins was the first person I thought of when this topic came up. Because like a fixed mindset, the first thing I thought of was actually in his book. He says we put a governor on ourselves. At that fixed mindset of like, well, I'm not built this way. I'm not talented. I wasn't born with it. That's very fixed mind, like a fixed mindset, because you're putting that blockade on you. You're putting a cap on what you can truly become. And yeah, that piece of that book alone really stuck with me. It's like, you got to take that thing off and let you go all the way to the top. And if you fail, I mean, at least you tried, right? So that what if, and I do it still now. And my oldest does it a lot, and it's so hard to try and because I don't know if you know this, if you have teens or not, but like teens are like the pinnacle of like fixed mindset. It's like, I'm right, you don't know no feeling, this and that. And it's so hard to get past that. And when you get there, it's going to be a hell of a ride. I can guarantee that. But it's so hard to try and teach them what if I fail? I'm like, what if you don't? What if I don't make the team? But what if you do? Like there's, like Jonathan said, the two sides of the coin. Like you got to pick which one you want to live with. Like not even try and not even see if you made the team or not, or at least put the effort in. And if you make it, then you made it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, Inky Johnson says it better than I do. Inky Johnson says everyone has two wolves inside of them. There's one that's hungry, there's one that's confident, and there's one that has a lot of fear and a lot of doubt. And he was telling the kid this, and the kid was like, well, which one wins? And Inky Johnson says the one you feed the most.
Feed the most, yeah. I heard that too from Mickey.
Yeah, that's fire.
It's the one you feed the most, man, is gonna win. Yeah. There's another quote. Jordan Peterson. Y'all hear this guy? He's a monster, man. He's like a low-key intellectual. He's a low-key intellectual, not low-key.
Oh, is that white dude? He's a white dude?
Yeah,
he's a
white dude, kind of slicked hair.
Yeah.
Looks a little fucking insane and psycho. Super controversial, but man, his perspective and the mind that I can see his mind just freaking just working. And I'm very intrigued by this guy, but he had said something that just kind of, man, just stuck to me because he's like, he believes, we're talking about people who have doubt, who have fear, and not really open to growing, to becoming a monster, because whatever in their head they're saying, like that's not a good person, right? So that's why they fear.
I know what quote you're talking about. I just saw that video yesterday.
So I've listened to it over and over and over again, because I've always battled, right, which one is the better of the two evils, to be down here with humility, calm, safe, good, or versus this guy, ego, confidence, really driver, pusher, strong warrior. Which one do we feed? Who are we? Which one's good or bad? And he says, though, and he puts it in this way, he's like, I rather teach or build a new generation or build my children to be complete savages, complete monsters, and then give them the discipline to control it, versus teach them to be safe, kind, setting the where else I should be going with this, Chris? Safe, kind, not being a monster, reserved, calm,
cautious,
And he's like, here's the reason why. He's because life is a battle, life is a war, right? And I need to build a warrior. Life's a war, so I'd rather have a warrior inside of a war than a gardener inside of a war.
No, I think it was.
I can always put the warrior inside the garden and teach him.
Yeah, there you go.
But I can't put the gardener inside the war and teach him to thrive inside that war. He'll get destroyed every single time. And it reminded me of the other quote of Spider-Man: "With great power comes
great responsibility."
So if you have great power and you're a warrior and you're strong and you're a protector, that comes with a lot of responsibility of discipline to use it in the right way, versus I can't get a weak man to be a strong man in that moment. I thought but it's isn't that?
Yeah. No.
So are there any other? Oh, go ahead.
No, good.
I was just gonna say. So, do you guys what are some other traits from a fixed mindset and a growth mindset that you might be able to incorporate? Because we've talked about confidence, we've talked about open and closed-minded, learning and listening. But what are some other traits of fixed versus growth minded people?
Like effort versus skill. I think a lot of fixed mindset people, right, don't put the effort in because they feel I'm just not good at it. I'm not going to be good at it, right? So instead of putting effort, so that's one that I thought was pretty good, and that's the part that I've always had a growth mindset on. I feel like I've always okay, if I put enough time and effort into something, I'll be better at it. I never thought oh no, I can't do that, right? Or no, I don't think I'm ever going to do that. So I think that effort level for someone that's fixed, it's not there. They won't put the effort in. They won't even attempt it because they don't even believe that they can develop that skill.
So odd you say that, because I felt like that's the easier one out of all of them. But in my head, in my perspective, it is. But for most people, I can't even think like that. But for most people, they just think I'm just not good and I'll never be good.
So I did one. I think I said it before, is that one time when I had a chance to try out for college and basketball, I didn't do it because I didn't think I was going to make the team at all. That was the only time I just turned back and just nah.
Dang, Vic, you could have been pro, dog.
Dude, I could have been. I could have been what is it called? That Cuban guy, JJ Barea, short little dude, just balling everyone up.
Yeah.
Mine was for a trait would be seek to understand. I think that's probably one of the harder ones, because closed-minded, you're so ego, you have pride, you're not looking to understand anything. You're right, and even though if somebody says something that they're right, they're still wrong. Because you got to be right. And so that's kind of ones that I struggle with in entrepreneurship, is understanding that, bro, you suck. There's smarter people out there. Let's listen to them.
Yeah, that's tough. When I had conversations with my parents, my mom has really strong fixed mindset on certain things. I'm like, God damn, mom.
So just listen. No. I feel like, I don't know, for me, a trait in fix would be, and I'm thinking about it now in a broader picture, just based off society, hypocrisy. I feel like that could be a trait in a fixed mindset. And what I mean by that is kind of tapping into what Jonathan said, is a lot of people want to voice their feelings, their opinions, their views, and be accepted in it. But then on the latter half, they won't do the same.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of that going on. And that, for me, that hurts my heart, just because like there's so much love and so much beauty in this world. And whether you're religious or not, like even from a religious standpoint, like there's beauty in it. And like we're supposed to love one another as we love ourselves, right? But yet we don't do that. So for me, being open-minded and growth-minded in a sense, like it's okay that people have different views and see things differently in this world, and there's beauty in it. That doesn't mean that they're wrong or right. And if you want to be accepted, then you kind of have to accept as well on the other side of things. So for me, hypocrisy is probably a fixed mindset trait.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. There's actually none of you touched on the three that I was thinking of.
Let me touch on it real quick before you say it.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll just play.
I am better.
Okay. Well, like a big one for fixed is like they treat criticism as an attack. They don't. They think you're just putting them down. You're like they don't want to hear it. Whereas someone with a growth mindset takes that into consideration and uses that to grow from it, or at least analyze it, and whether they agree with it or not, they at least can take it in and see if there is something that they can use to improve from that criticism.
That's a big
another
one.
thing is fixed mindset people typically they're threatened by other people's success. So like they don't like they want to make sure they're the ones succeeding. They don't want to see other people succeed because they think, oh, like especially like at a job, like, oh, this person just got a promotion, like, oh, are they coming after my job? As opposed to like being happy for them, and like, because if they grow, you're gonna grow as well. Like, I mean, if everyone's improving, the whole team's gonna grow together.
Abundance mindset versus
Abundance, yeah.
mindset.
And then the last one I wanted to bring up is actually a topic that I think we did. It was I think I looked it up. It was like episode 22. And it's embracing the challenge, or embracing change. Like fixed mindset, they don't like change. Because I mean, for some of the reasons that we talked about, like they fear change, the fear of failure, like all of that. Like they're not willing to engage in those challenges that might come up, and like, or like they think any change is going to be something negative instead of something positive.
Yeah. No, that was good, player. What you got? Hey, welcome back, Victor.
Yeah, my bad. I had to like my light just my light that I
Have
have
a dance
like,
party
went
over
out,
there.
and then I'm like, oh, I know, right? It's like I'm in a race. No, I completely agree.
Got a quote?
No, I don't have a quote. But no, I definitely just a comment on what Chris was saying. That's definitely something that, especially the one you said about working with other people that not working with people, but having people that when they hear criticism, it's like an attack on themselves. Like I've worked with a lot of people that I gave like, constructive criticism to, and then they felt like offended, like attacked, like, and they got like super defensive. And to me, it was like, whoa, like that's not, like, hold on.
I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. So what I've learned, from one side, if you're giving the criticism, and I learned from others as well, is I think what we do at CG is like we start with like positive stuff, and then but we also then followed with that constructive criticism after. So always like lift them up, and then like, okay, this is what, and then the way you position down. Yeah. Yeah. Give them the rock bottom. Yeah. But no, man, yeah, having a fixed mindset definitely won't get you very far. You gotta have that growth mindset to get to better places.
Yeah, you definitely got to be willing to know that you suck and that there's so much improvement to be made. And I'm just being real. Yeah. And so once you realize that, you'll be able to, really push forward in your life and accomplish great things. And you understand that other people are smarter than you, and you need a team, and you need to understand that you got to grow to your next level. Then your next level will always require new information. And if you're closed-minded, you're never going to receive that new information.
And you were asking about a quote. I was actually thinking of one earlier.
I just said it. We're good.
No, but there's that famous quote by Confucius. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like there's the man that says he can and the man who says he can't, and they're both usually right.
Yeah. Perfucia, is that her name? His name? Her name?
Confucius?
Confucius with a C. Confucius.
Because I hear Will Smith say that all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who's Fuchsius? Like, who is this person?
That's a very unique name.
Confucius.
I do have a quote, but what's funny is this board has been sitting behind me for like the past 7-8 months. It says, "Do not pray for easy lives, pray to be stronger men." I feel like that kind of applies to what our topic is now. But I found a quote also by Mandy Hale. It says, "Growth is painful, change is painful, but nothing is as painful as staying somewhere you don't belong."
I like that one.
Yeah, for me that was deep, man. But there you go.
For that reason, I'm out. Let's go. No, play.
Y'all suck. But cool. Anything else? Anything else you want to get off your chest? Yeah, Jonathan mentioned it earlier. We skipped a segment. Later, life happens. You had to pivot, but we have a commitment to each other, to y'all, to grow, right? So we still got the podcast. It's actually, we started at it's Saturday morning, February 12th, and we started at 6:15, 6:20. It should have been 6 o'clock, but I was a little late. Sorry. But just get it done. You'll feel better at the end of it. I'm probably about to go run. And what I mean by run, I'm going to go walk for like 30 minutes, maybe not, like for a mile at least.
I was going to ask you, videotape that.
I'm going to try and run. Baby steps. Baby steps. But cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. I forgot what I'm trying to say. I'm losing my train of thought.
You gotta like our comment, share, subscribe.
Oh, right. Yeah. So on that topic, if you're watching on YouTube, we have a Spotify, we have a YouTube. So if you want to see our pretty faces, definitely come by and drop a subscribe and like. That'd be much obliged. You were born to be great, so go and do it. As always, thanks for joining us today. Till next time, peace and love.